completely start from scratch. I'm going to assume that you guys have never written content before. I'm going to assume that you have interest, that you really want to write, and you know what content is, but you've never done it before. So just with that assumption, I'm going to tell you a few things, okay? The first thing is that I like to do is when I'm writing anything, I make sure I know exactly what I'm writing about. Okay. So if you give me a topic, 3 ways to use this water bottle, there's a water bottle here. So 3 ways to use this water bottle. The first thing I'll do is I will create an outline. So 3 things to do with a water bottle, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll create an outline and I will use that. I will think about it. Does it make sense to the topic? And then I will start writing the article. I follow this process for every piece of content. Okay. So basically, even if you're writing essays for your exams, you should definitely do this. Look at your topic, think of the 4 or 5 subpoints to include, create an outline, and then basically start filling in the outline. The benefits of this are, firstly, you have a structure. So you are going in a proper flow and you know exactly what the end piece is going to be. Second thing is you're not drifting. Normally what happens is when we're talking or when when we're writing, if you don't have something in mind, what's going to happen is I'm going to start talking about this and I'm going to end up at, say, some of my other LinkedIn posts. I'm going to start with how I came up with the LinkedIn post, because that's common, because it's a thought that's constantly flowing. When it comes to an outline, if you have an outline, what happens is you know exactly what you have to write. You have 5 subheadings and you know you have to exactly answer those subheadings. So it becomes very easy. It becomes very easy to kind of stay to the topic and not drift here and there. Okay. Third thing is it reduces your time. Again, because you're not drifting here and there and you're sticking to the topic, you won't once you look back, you won't think that wait, this is not even required, this is not important. You won't think that because it's already there. So I want to ask if you have ever written essays for your exams, even in school, English exams or anything. Have you ever felt after you've written it, you've read it, and you have felt that, wait, what is this? This doesn't even make sense. I have completely, forgotten the topic. I have written my own thing. Has this happened to you? Just give me like a thumbs up or a yes if this has happened to you. If you read something, if you were told to write something about the color blue and you ended up writing about black or something, not even black, maybe red, like completely different. So has this happened? So Saurav said this has happened to him. Mahesh, has this happened to you? Yes, this has happened. Okay. 2 more people have said yes. So this happens. This is very common because, again, we don't have a structure. And this gets worse with time, because especially because I'm an art student. So I have to write like 10 essays in a year. Each essay is like 2,000 words. And you can imagine my horror when I write 2,000 words and I look at it and I realize maybe only 200 words make sense. And this is at like 11:50 in the night and I have to submit my essay at like 12 a.m. This kind of scenario. So outlines are super helpful. Work on it. A good way to use outlines if you're a freelancer is to send them to your client for approval. So once you've written a piece of content, once you've gotten the topic from the client, create an outline, send it to the client like, hey client, I'm going to be writing these 5 points in this article. Let the client go through it, approve it, and then you start writing the article. Same benefits here. The client doesn't come back later and say, hey, this is not the article I wanted. You've completely drifted. I wanted something else. No. You save time, you save energy, you save effort, you save the number of edits, because if it's what they wanted in the first go, then you are all good to go, right? So again, use this creatively for your clients as well. Okay. So that's the first thing. Second thing I want to tell you is for editing. So you've written your piece of content after creating an outline, you've written it down. Okay. Now, editing is very, 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 very important, mainly because it refines everything. If you think whatever you've written is the best piece on earth, there will always be something that you've either missed out, something you can improve upon, something you can do better. So always edit. What I mean by editing, like what could you include in editing? Editing could be first like things like, making the sentences proper. Sometimes you've written half sentences. Sometimes you thought you've written, if blah blah blah, and then you've forgotten to write then. So it's an incomplete sentence. Fill those in. Any grammatical issues, punctuation issues, things like that, clarify those. Tone and voice is also very important. Many people start with the active voice and then they start talking about the past. I am doing this, I am, and suddenly it will switch and it will become I was and when I was. So that is a switch in the story and the timeline. So again, check for the voice, active, passive voice, check for the tone, things like that, keep them up to track. One super tip I can give you here is to give yourself the so what test. After writing every single line, do this while editing, preferably not while writing. When you're editing, read one line, ask yourself, so what? If you can answer your question, so what, then keep the sentence. If you cannot answer your question, either edit that sentence or delete it. Basically, there are so many times when you write something in your piece of content, you write something down and it has no relevance at all, like it serves no purpose. You delete that line or you keep that line, makes no difference, right? Like you could get rid of it, it would be completely fine. That is why I recommend this so what test. It's not something I've made up, it's something somebody else told me, and it has worked really well for me. So what happens is, suppose you're writing an article on why social media is important, okay? And you write a sentence something like social media. Okay, let me think of something. Social media is booming right now. Okay, so what? How does it matter? Social media is booming. So what? If you complete the sentence with social media is booming, which means a lot of people are online, giving you an opportunity for visibility, then it serves a purpose. Okay, social media is booming. So what? Okay, so I can get visibility online. Answer those questions. Okay, this doesn't mean that in every sentence you write something and you write and so you can do this. No, doesn't mean that. It means that every sentence has to have a purpose. Every sentence has to have a reason for being in there. So work on this. After every sentence, ask yourself, so what is the purpose of this? What does this serve? What does this tell me? And then keep on improving there. Some sentences are okay even if they do not pass the so what test, but that would be like 5% maybe of your complete content. Okay. So work on this. Work on the so what test. It gets better with time. After a few weeks or months, you won't require asking so what. You'll just realize that what you've written is just bad and you will delete it yourself. Okay. So that's something to practice. It's really important to practice it. Having said that, I know that many of us start doing these things while writing. So we write and we see a spelling error and we're like, delete, 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 and then that was weird. Anyways, you delete 5 words and then you put your hand on the keyboard. You're like, wait, what was I writing? And you forget. And this is especially bad when it happens when you have something amazing to say. You just had this best idea in the world and you were writing, you deleted something and then you're like, where is that idea? It's gone, right? You do not want that. You do not want that to happen. That is why never ever edit while writing. Always write it down first. If you're if you're writing it on a Word document and you see that that annoying red line, that something spelling is wrong, if it's distracting you, turn that off. Turn spell check off if it is distracting you. And once you have written the whole thing, you can turn spell check on again, and then you can sort out the spellings. But first, always write. Another good way to kind of not forget what you're what you're thinking is to keep your phone audio recording on while you're writing. So many of us, while writing, we normally tend to speak things aloud. So we start talking. Hey, I'm Shreya and I'm going to be writing this. Okay, you're just typing and you're speaking it out loud. And sometimes you may say this brilliant thing and you may want to write it and you forget it completely within the next second. Anyhow, right? So recording it on your phone is a good way to just keep a track of it. And then once you've written the article or piece of content, go back, listen to it, and catch all the good phrases that you thought about. I don't do this a lot. I just do this sometimes. It's not something I have. I usually do this for my essays, because while I'm writing my essays, we require a lot of independent thinking. It's basically my opinions in my essay. So I keep that on just so that, if I think of something that I'm like, yes, this is perfect, and then just don't want to forget it, so I just turn the audio on. So that is something you can do. These are all, see, honestly, these are all things that you will probably find online, but these are also things that work for me. These are things that I started doing because of experimentation. I realized many times that I was forgetting things while writing, so I just started recording an audio. I realized that half of my sentences are incomplete, so my professor said that you should try the so what method, right? So things happen as in how you write. You have to find your own way of rectifying those errors, of making your content the best possible. So you have to find your own working process. This audio thing may not work for you. This audio thing may work very well for you. You may have something else that I have never even thought of. Completely fine. You should find your own process of working and really stick to it, because at the end of the day, you are the one who's doing it, right? So you have to find out what works best for you. Also, some people are asking about questions. You can ask your questions in the chat box, but I will answer them at the end of, like, maybe in 10 more minutes, right? So I'll answer them in the end, but keep asking. Completely fine. Okay. One more thing that I like to do with my writing is I like to tell stories. So if you have seen my LinkedIn post, if you've seen my Instagram post, even if you've heard me talk right now, everything I've said has been in the form of stories. How I came across this voice method and all of those things, right? So I like that kind of writing. I like that kind of communication. I like telling stories. You may have your own way of writing, honestly, but I find stories exciting. And maybe you will too, because honestly, everyone loves stories, right? Everyone loves, like, if I was sitting here and telling you how to write content, like with a presentation, 3 ways to write content, it wouldn't work, because you would get bored. But because I'm sharing stories, you're probably willing, maybe you're interested to look at my face just blabbering right now. So that's the thing about stories, right? You'll probably not forget this even after a few months, because if you don't remember my lesson, if you don't remember what I'm like teaching you, you would still remember the story. And if you are ever in that position where you're like, that red line on the document is annoying you, you'll probably think, oh wait, Shreya said that she had experienced the same thing and she turned it off while writing her document. So again, these things are, storytelling makes things memorable. So if you can, if you like it, if you enjoy it, storytelling is a good way to do content writing. Mainly, I would say that this goes in for, say, social media posts or articles, but this can actually also be very well weaved into web copy, and can be weaved into speeches and business presentations as well. Completely can be done. So I just want to share a few tips about writing a good story or telling a good story. Okay. So basically, I would refer you to any of my LinkedIn posts to see this build up, because all of my LinkedIn posts are basically stories, and they have 4 key elements that I have noticed. First thing is, I always have an attractive hooking line, introduction line. So I'm going to just open up a post on my phone so that I can read it out to you, and we can decide whether it's a good story. So just give me a minute. And also, I understand LinkedIn is, a professional platform and things like that. But I mean, it's completely fine. I share my life stories. I share about how I have dropped my phone. I share about my trips to the grocery store annoying me. As long as you can make it kind of relevant to the professional audience, I think you should be good to go. So I have this one post that's from 3 weeks ago. It has 1,000 likes right now. And I would like to share what I have written. So the first introductory line is, my audience paid 3x for my ebook. So before I read this, it's better to give you some context. So I released my ebook in early August, and the ebook was priced at rupees 500. It has increased now. And at that point, like the platform that I'm selling the ebook through, it has an option where you can pay more also. You can pay more than the price. So you can pay 500,000, whatever. And Basically, this is my post sharing that so many people have actually paid 3 times the price. People have paid 1500 rupees for an ebook that was at 500 rupees, right? So, my first interesting hooking line was my audience paid 3 times for my ebook, 3x for my ebook. So if you are reading a post like this, the first thing you would think is, oh my God, how can somebody pay 3 times more for an ebook? An ebook is a product. Why would somebody pay more? How can somebody pay more? How does that happen? So it hooks you instantly. The next thing is the story. So yesterday I announced the pre-order of my first ebook. The pre-order price INR 500. The ebook buying platform allows the buyer to pay any amount over and above the base price. I was surprised when I saw that people had paid $8, $10, $20 for an ebook priced at $7. So I was paid 2 to 3 times my asking price. So this was the build up. Okay. So when I shared the story that what happened, I released my ebook and then you could pay as much as you wanted. I've given all the context and people ended up paying this amount. I have given up a build up right now, right? And then I have dropped this like bomb thing that I was paid 2x, 3x my asking price. And then I continue a little bit. Since 2 years, my audience has seen my work in consistency. LinkedIn posts, Instagram sessions, responding to messages. My audience appreciates my content and work, so now they choose to pay more than I ask for. That's the power of building authentic, strong connections. So this part is more of a conclusion. Okay, so first I had this hooking line. Next, I had this whole story. There was a narration of what happened. Third part was like the lesson. So why did this happen? It's because my audience has been seeing my content. They like it and they thought that what if we buy this ebook, it's definitely going to be good as well. So let's pay more for it. Okay, that's why it happened. Finally, in all of my LinkedIn posts, I ask a question. So in the end of this post, there was, how has your audience supported you? That's a question. So the question is the call to action. Basically, it's asking people to comment. It's asking people to take an action. This is the basic framework that you can follow for any sort of content, anything that you think of. First would be a good grabbing, eye-catching, click-worthy headline. I don't like to call it clickbait. You are not lying. A clickbait is when you basically make something up. Click-worthy. You're being honest, authentic, but you're making it worth clicking. Click-worthy. Second is you tell the story. So you build that interest. You build that, how did this happen? Oh my God, I really want to know. So you build that interest based on the headline. Third thing is you drop the big bomb. How did that happen? What happened exactly? And, basically, if this were like an emotional movie, this would be the point where, everyone would start having goosebumps because suddenly you realize that, oh my God, this happened. Or, in motivational videos, when suddenly that motivation music starts playing after this person has talked for 5 minutes and you get goosebumps like, wow, what happened, right? So that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of emotion your readers should have while they read your content. There should be like a big bomb coming in. And then you can give some more build up there. And always make sure that you are meeting up the expectations of the build-up. If you're giving a build-up like, oh my God, this, and you don't drop that big bomb, it's going to annoy people and nobody's going to enjoy reading it. Always live up to the expectations you're building. And finally, have a call to action. Call to action could be anything: contacting you, contacting the company, hiring the company, looking at more pages, looking at more services, filling up a form, going and following you on Instagram. Anything could be your call to action. Just don't miss that out. Something else I do on LinkedIn, if you just want a few LinkedIn tips, I like to space out my content. If you can see my phone. Can you see my screen right now? Yeah.
Ma'am, we can see that, but it's not that much clear, ma'am.
Is that okay? I don't want you to read it. It's fine. If you can just see
Yes,
that,
yeah.
It's different lines, right? So this is something I like to do for my LinkedIn posts. I like to space it all out so that it's easy to read. Again, visuals matter a lot in your content. If you are writing chunky articles, if you are writing chunky web copy, it's probably not going to work because it's very difficult to read that. And if you write long sentences, one more thing, if you write very long sentences, two things happen. First thing is, by the time somebody reaches that end of the sentence, they forget what was said in the start. Okay, so they end up reading it twice. So you don't want that to happen. Write short sentences. Second thing is, when you write long sentences, your eyes are going like this across the screen, this again and again, and it gets tiring, it gets frustrating for the reader. Whereas if you look at a LinkedIn, it's not even about the screen size, it's about the line being so long. If you look at this LinkedIn post, you can probably read every sentence within one glance, which makes it very convenient to read. So the idea should be that you write shorter sentences so that it's not frustrating and so that the person just basically does not forget what you had written in the beginning of the sentence.